Thank you very much, Gauthier, for having me, and thank you everyone for joining. Um, while I'm speaking, we will move you from being attendees to being panelists. This will allow you to just jump in and ask questions instead of just raising your hands virtually and waiting us to reach out to you. So, and this is for a good reason. I want you to ask questions. Feel free to stop me anytime. I'll try to cover a few areas, but if you have something that you care about a bit more, or you want to ask something specific about something I haven't talked about, just feel free to jump in and ask me. There'll be some time for questions, but you can stop me anytime. So I'm going to talk about data collection operation under the context of artificial intelligence and machine learning, but I'll talk about the basics. You guys, if you're data scientists, you know how to work with the data. If you're coming from the finance world, you know how to work with the data insights or how to extract the insights from the data. What we're doing is crucial, but not being taken into consideration in many cases because it's the process of extracting the data, the publicly available data from the internet. And you can do it yourself, and I'll also show you a few tricks and tips of how to do it better yourself, or you can do it with third-party vendors such as Luminati. But more important is to understand that it's a must-have process. You won't have the data without actually collecting it before. So let's start. Very briefly about me. My name is Lenchner. I'm the CEO of Luminati Networks for the past 2.5 years. Been in the company for almost 6 years. I'm a product guy. I'm working on web-based products. Even today, I also kept myself the position of the VP product of the company. This is the thing that I'm enjoying to do the most. I founded several internet-based companies previously before joining Luminati. I'm from Israel. Most of the company are located in Israel. I'm 34 years old. And when I'm not surfing the web, I'm surfing the ocean. That's like my only hobby other than working. So I'm a surfer by soul and also by job. So I'll start with a real example of a real Luminati customer that we can't really reveal the name, but this is an investment firm that invest in real estate in the US, mostly in the US. What's special about this unique investment firm is that they rely almost solely on machine learning and artificial intelligence modules that they develop in-house to get their investments decisions. How much to invest, in what, and when to sell. They use Luminati in this case to collect data in real time, constantly, and in very large scale in order to constantly enrich their models. Now, this is actually a trend that is happening in the world because the data is just shifting online. Today, many people say that data is the new oil. It's not the new oil. Data is the new water. You have it's the largest resource that you can mine to get insights from. As a CEO of a data company, I can tell you that today more than ever, businesses rely on data. With over 30% growth in the digital population, data has become almost the #1 commodity today. From a survey we've performed with Frost & Sullivan, globally, we saw that 54% of enterprise global IT leaders express the need for larger scale data collection. It means that they are already collecting data online. More than half of the companies are doing it, but not enough. They understand that they need more and more. And the other half, I can assure you that they are also collecting data online. They just still haven't realized that they need more of this data. Now, how do we gain such success, and what do we do in Luminati, and why I'm here speaking to you at all? So at Luminati, we help our customers to collect publicly available data from the web in large scale, real time, and also in an ethical manner. I'll talk a bit about ethics in data collection because this is a very important point. I'll get to it in a few slides. We're almost 200 employees. Most of us are in Israel, but we have representations all over the world. We got acquired around 3 years ago for $160 million by a private equity fund from the UK. And this is also a field that you can keep innovating. It's data is not new, and people need the data, so they always collected the data. But the industry of online data collection is fairly new and is growing. As you can see, that we innovate a lot. We have more than 750 approved patent claims, and we have a similar amount of patent claims that are currently pending. We're serving the biggest companies in the world, thousands of them, including Fortune 500. And this is where the knowledge of regarding the data collection processes is coming from. Now, why companies do online data collection? It's obvious because they need the data, but why? And why is it hard to do it on your own, and sometimes even with a vendor, but for sure on your own? Imagine you're driving a highway and you see this nice billboard of your competitor, and you know it's easy to compete this way because you know that all of the drivers around you see exactly the same sign, right, with the same content. So you pick up the phone, call your team and say, listen, I want a bigger sign in a better place, and also cut down the price of the product that they are advertising by 10% for the next month. And this is how you can compete and maybe even win. You can't do that online, obviously. All of us are also online consumers. It's not new that I will see something else than you. So each and every one of us is actually driving its own highway online, which also means that we are seeing different content, different ads, different prices, just different content, almost different everything. So the web is not really transparent. How can you compete this way? This is one of the problems that we help our companies solve, our customers to solve. We allow them to sit in any driver's seat on any highway and to see the web through real consumer eyes and real consumer devices. I'll explain how in a minute. The second problem that you want to solve, and you can do it with data collection companies or vendors, is that almost every website today is utilizing some mechanism, some script, some module or from a third-party vendor that is trying to identify if this request that got to the website is coming from a real consumer or from someone who is not a real consumer. They don't know if it's a competitor or if it's a bot or not, but they can try to identify if it's a consumer or not. Almost every website today is utilizing such technology. And if you'll write an amazing Python crawler or scraper and start to extract data from a website, it's a matter of seconds, minutes maximum, until you just get blocked. For example, you get a CAPTCHA or you even won't get the data at all. And the worst thing to get as data scientists or people who are handling AI and ML is to get wrong data. It can actually cause damage to what you're working on. This is why you need to do data collection and how you do it. But in Luminati, we've identified around 20 to 25 different use cases, okay, just from looking on our own customers. And I'll mention a couple and then we'll continue. So e-commerce is by far our biggest vertical. We have the highest amount of customers that are using our platform to collect e-commerce related data to feed their own machines, obviously. When we're talking about e-commerce data, we're talking about prices of the products, which is obvious, but not only. We're talking about also customer reviews, because you want to understand the sentiments of your competitors' customers and what they're saying on that product. Maybe you can gain some insights about what you want to promote in your own store and so on. We're talking about images. You have to collect competitive information about the images that your competitors are showing, because maybe it converts better. So we're talking about probably tens, if not hundreds of different data points that our e-commerce customers are using us to collect from their competitors. I can also assure you that everyone are doing it. So basically the web should be transparent, but everyone are trying to keep their data, the data, even though it's a public data, trying to keep the data only to themselves, which hurt competition. So we're helping everyone to collect the data and bring back transparency, which creates competition. Travel, the online travel industry, although during COVID it completely collapsed, in contrast to e-commerce that is completely booming, travel industry is pretty much like e-commerce, just the product is different. So we have online travel agencies that are using us to make sure that they always have the best price for this hotel on that flight, and that they always have the most updated content on this room or that hotel. So it's always making sure that you have the best data and the most qualified data, and usually also the best price to win this conversion. So we also serve security companies and advertising companies. The reason that they need to collect data is because that the only way to, for example, to protect the web, if this is your solution as a security company, is to see the web from real consumers' eyes. Otherwise, you won't be able to catch the black hat hackers that are trying to abuse a victim. So as I said, we have around 20 other use cases, but I think you got the point. Let's continue. Happily, the data collection process is not just for commercial reasons. This is a real example from Luminati and a research group, including Israel's largest private hospital, AWS by Amazon, and Weizmann Institute of Science, which is like the MIT of Israel. During this March, when COVID just started, these guys approached us, Luminati, because they had a theory, very much like data scientists have, like on twice a day. You have a theory and you need data to determine if this is a right or wrong direction. So their theory was that maybe there are enough people around the world that holds a device, a digital device with a sensor that can check your oxygen blood levels. If the answer is yes, they will take one direction. If the answer is no, they will kill this theory and think of a new one. It took us less than a day, obviously for a good reason. So we immediately cooperated with them. And it took us less than a day with our own engineers to find the relevant public information on the web, collect it, scrape it, and then to analyze it and to give them a clear-cut answer that they can work with. We find out just by collecting publicly available information in very large scale, we were able to find out that around 17% of the device owner around the world has a SpO2 sensor, which has the capabilities to check your oxygen blood level. They were very excited to hear that, and they decided to continue with the research. And today, based on this information, it's being used for remote diagnostics of COVID-19, and it is part of the protocols in some countries. Think of a world that you can't extract data in real time, super fast and in large scale. This research group might get to another conclusion, and we won't have this information in some healthcare protocols that they are using it today. It was also fun to see. I can't take any credit for it, but if you saw the recent Apple announcement, the new Apple Watch will also have this SpO2 sensor. Just an anecdote. So we discussed the why. Why do you need to do that? Now I want to dive into how we do it. I think that this is a more technical, and you can also ask any technical questions that you want to ask. So I want to talk about the technology. How do we build such an extensive global data collection platform that addresses all these increasingly growing data demands and data needs? So basically, our ecosystem, the data collection ecosystem, which you is part of it because you will also collect data or collecting data, is constructed from three pieces. We have one piece, which is the device owners. And this is what this slide is all about. And these screenshots are all about. So I can hear myself again. Okay. So we have tens of millions of the real device owners around the world every month unique devices that are joining the Luminati network. They are doing it in a few ways. One way is to install our own Earn app, this is how we call it, and you can just contribute your device, your IP address, only your IP address, when you're not using the device. And in return, you can gain real revenues, in this case, in the form of an Amazon gift card. This is how we generate some, not many, just some of our peers, of these devices that we allow our customers to see the web through. How we usually do it is that we have an SDK, this piece of code that is being embedded in third-party application and software. And those users, the users of these applications and softwares who partnered up with Luminati can decide to opt into the Luminati network. And in return, they will always get some very valuable benefit. For example, they'll be able to use this app without seeing annoying ads. Or this is a paid app, so if they'll opt in to Luminati, they will get it for free, and so on. So this is how we've built the network and how you can actually pinpoint a specific city around the world and go through this node to that website to collect the data that you want to see, under the understanding that everyone are seeing something completely different. The other side is our customers, which are, as I said, commercial companies, but also research groups and universities and academic institutions and financial institutions and other type of entities. They come to Luminati and ask to utilize our platform, our infrastructure. Before they do that, they need to go through a very, very extensive compliance procedures, because it's, this asset of being able to route traffic from around the world in large scale, you need to treat it carefully, and with great power comes great responsibility. So we have to make sure that our customers understand that, and we have a team of 6 full-time compliance officers that need to approve each and every single one of our customers. And in the middle, you have Luminati. We are a product company. So we've built this infrastructure, and all day long, we're releasing new updates to all of our products. Our products help our customers to collect data, to unblock the websites that they are approaching to, and to actually to do the whole data collection cycle. Now, why we're talking about ethics and why it's so important, especially if you're going to handle and touch and be in this process yourself, you need to keep that in mind. Think of a fisherman going out to the ocean to catch fish. If you'll fish too much, you'll damage the ecosystem. If you'll damage the ecosystem, you won't be able to fish, all of your colleagues won't be able to fish, and you'll just damage the world that we're living in. The web is exactly the same. If you'll collect data in an irresponsible way and in an unethical way, you will damage the ecosystem. The ecosystem is the website that is hosting this data, the public data. It's also your colleagues and competitors. And it's the most important part is the actual users that are trying to approach the website. So you need to get a decision, very much like in the cyber industry. You need to get a decision if you are doing things properly or not. And you have to do things properly. Now, what it actually means? It means that you need to match the data collection scale to the website capabilities. If you scrape too much information in a very short time period, you're risking to slowing down the website, maybe even crash its servers. This is exactly what I was referring to when I said don't damage the ecosystem. If you crash the server and the website is down, you can't collect data anymore. The website just lost business and its users are unhappy. It won't help anyone in the industry. You need to make sure also to collect only publicly available data, so you won't risk in collecting data you shouldn't be touching. How do you know you're doing it? The basic rule is that if you as an individual, as a user, can go to that website and see the data in your own eyes without the need to go through a login process or something like that, then it's most likely a publicly available data, and you can automate the process and start collecting it in a more efficient way. Which gets me to the next part, which is automate real user behavior. Don't be a bad bot. This is probably the most important part because it gathers everything underneath. As long as you're trying to really mimic real user behavior and just make the process more effective by doing it with the machine, you're good, okay? If you're trying to do funny things that a real user won't do, like catch the request from the website before it's going to the CDN server and manipulate it, no user will ever do that. Don't do it yourself also. It means that you're doing something wrong. And also, there is a regulation, there is a law. It changes from one country to another. So you should also be aware to that and read it and understand it and at least take a good advice. Any questions so far? I have just a few more slides before I'm done.
Yeah, so maybe when you are saying that you are like timing or slowing down the request to don't hit the server too hard, so it's a bit of bottleneck for data collection, no? Maybe you can't get all the data within a day and it's refreshed continuously, so you are missing. So how do you catch up with the refresh on the other side?
Okay. So first of all, it's more important not to create any damage. If it means that the data, that collecting 100% of the data that you want to collect will take longer, it should take longer. Okay. Otherwise, you won't get to the 100% of the data you want to collect if you'll crash the website or if you'll slow it down. Now, another question can be, how do I know? And how do I know what is the right rate limit? So first of all, sometimes the website writes it. I mean, a proper website understands that if he holds publicly available data, someone else will get it, and because it's actually good for the world to be transparent. So you have robots.txt. Sometimes you can find there in the website robots.txt, and sometimes the website will actually write what is the rate limit, the suggested rate limit. But if you don't have any idea, first of all, talk to your vendor. Maybe they know because they serve more customers that are doing the same. And second, try and measure and then improve. Just start slow so you won't crash the website or do any damage because you started too fast. Any other questions before I continue? Okay.
Maybe another one from me.
Sure, yeah.
So you didn't about that too much, or maybe it's the next part, but my little experience of scrapping websites, sometimes they change the display or how the HTML is written. So your crawler is breaking. So
yeah.
Are there ways to make that more adaptive or more robust, or is it something?
Yeah, sure. So you need to understand the data collection process is, I would say from my experience, is 80% unblocking the website and overcoming all these hurdles that the website puts in front of you to try and block you. And 20% is actually identifying the structure of the web page and extracting the data. This is first thing. Now to your question. Yeah, you should, when you write a crawler, 100% that it depends on it can take 1 hour, 1 second, or 1 year, but the structure of the data in that web page will change for sure, always. Okay. So what do you need to do? First of all, you need to, this is one of my next slides. You need to understand that you should do it if this is your business. If your business is something else, like investing or doing flights or doing e-commerce, don't waste time on data collection. Outsource it. It doesn't have to be to Luminati. I'm not trying to sell, but this is exactly like a good analogy can be, think of e-commerce websites 10, 15 years ago. They had to just to be able to do online transactions as an e-commerce website, you had to integrate directly with MasterCard, with Visa. You had to make sure that you are PCI compliant. You have to make sure that you have 128-bit encryption and all of these things that no one even know about today. You just integrate with Stripe or with another billing vendor, right? This is where data is heading. You can write your own Python crawler. It's actually not that hard, but then you want to scale up and you're starting to get blocked, and you need to integrate with proxies, and you need to have all this logic behind it and do retries and use the right user agent and the right headers. This is a major operation you need to manage, or you can just outsource it and get the data that you need, the data that you want, sometimes even for cheaper. I'll show you a few things that you can do in the next slides to identify if the data is wrong. But okay, yeah, you know what? That's actually related to my next slide. So how do you start? Okay, you're a data scientist, or you're, I don't know, an engineer working on this sophisticated machine learning module, and you want to enrich that module with more data, with alternative data, with public data that you can find online. Start small and manual, okay? Usually you won't be able to get the output that you need in the first time. Why? Because it's the first time you're doing it. I don't have a sophisticated answer for that. It's just the statistics. So just literally do it manually on your own. Go to the website as a real user, collect the data on your own, have a proper output in the format that you need. Just really literally type it with your keyboard and use it in your module and see that it works. Okay, you'll save a lot of headache and time by doing it manually. Invest just a few hours, maybe a few days maximum. Do it manually before scaling, before writing any piece of code, before writing a crawler, before doing anything. Just do it manually. Then my second tip for how to start is choose a data collection platform. Okay, don't write it yourself, because it won't end with just writing a caller. I'm telling you that 80% of the work is the unblocking mechanism, and this is something that you can have. I don't know, a company of 100 people can have a team of 5 engineers just working full-time always on unblocking. This is a major issue, okay, because most websites, unfortunately, are trying to keep this publicly available data to themselves. This is one of their competitive edge in their minds. So try to outsource it. You don't have to. This is my tip. And when you outsource it and start getting some data and you push it into your modules and you see that it's actually working, automate it and scale it with that vendor. Now, make sure that you can trust the vendor and always question the data and have some manual sanity tests on this data, because things changes. And if you just bought massive amount of data and you got it, but it's the wrong data, you can throw away all of the project. So a couple of practical tips for how to start. And yeah, go ahead.
Just what kind of sanity check do you suggest, or do you have integrated in your solution to see if it breaks? Because I guess if it breaks, you want an alert to know as soon as possible if format have changed or there is a new blocking. So what kind of logic can you implement for that?
Sure. So Luminati is a unique case because we overview a massive amount of data that is going through the Luminati network. We have around 500 million metrics in any given moment that we track. Okay, around half a billion metrics that we track constantly. We can do that because we serve so much customers, so we can identify any slight minor change almost in every website in no time, automatically. So this is how it happens with us, but we have the ability to do that as we're one of the leading data collection companies in the world. But if you're just working on your own project, the best sanity test is check it manually on your own, just sample check once in a while. But when you parse the data, this is usually, in the parsing process, this is usually when you can identify that something is wrong. For example, you're parsing data, you're trying to transition the data from the HTML page to a JSON format, and your code expects that pricing value will be in a specific format, digit, digit, dot, digit, digit, for example, with a dollar sign. And then something is changed, the dollar sign is not there, then you have to have a metric that pops up, and eventually an engineer will need to go and check it on their own. So again, the best thing that you can do is to do it manually, because then you'll already understand what you need to do also, to sanity test it and to monitor it. So the first thing that you need to understand is that you will need proxies, okay? If you need to automate it, which means that we're talking about high scale, means that you will need proxies, okay? So you just need to understand what proxy type you need to start with. This is the first tip. What I described earlier is what we call the residential proxy network, this network of real devices that you can approach the web through. This is not only the only proxy type that you can utilize with Luminati, but generally speaking, you have the residential proxy types and the data center proxy type. And the data center proxy is exactly what you think it is. It's an IP that is hosted on a data center somewhere around the world. It's usually very cheap and very fast, but the website can identify the data center IP as a data center IP immediately, automatically, okay? Because every IP existed out there is labeled in databases, public databases like MaxMind and DBIP and IP Info. You have all these databases that are labeling those IPs. It's public information. They're not doing something sophisticated. It's just, you can just embed their database in your code if you're trying to block traffic to your website. So yeah, start with the cheap solution and the fast solution, which is data center. Just keep in mind that very fast you'll probably get a CAPTCHA or some other type of block, and then you will need to escalate to this more premium IP that is basically unblockable, which is the residential IP. Now, something a bit more sophisticated but crucial, and this is where we're starting to talk about, and I think that this is the last slide. I think this is where we're starting to talk about the quality of your data. If you didn't get the data because you're using data center IP, it's easy. You didn't get the data, you need to improve your operation, then you'll get the data. But if you got bad data or unqualified data, you're actually risking your own business because you're relying on this data. So what we can see here is that in this example, I'm looking for the price. This is just an e-commerce website. I'm also selling a Darth Vader masks, and I want to compete, and I want to sell it in 30% less because I want to win every single sale, okay? This is the most common use case that we see. So I'm collecting the pricing information from all of my competitors. This is fine. What I don't know is that they can spoof me and to give me wrong information. The way to understand that the data I got is irrelevant and unqualified, or not quality information, is that I can also collect the collateral data that around it. So we see a lot in e-commerce websites that if they think you are a bot, they will show you the price. Sometimes it will be the wrong price, but they won't show you an ad because showing ads costs them money. Okay, someone is paying them per impression, or it costs their advertisers money and they don't want to abuse this ad budget. So even if you don't need to collect the ads because you're currently not a security company that is trying to find fraudulent ads, or you're not trying to see what your competitors are advertising and things like that, you really don't care about the ad, consider collecting also this information just to make sure that the data that you do care about is legit. Now, this is not a rule. You won't find it in any website. I'm getting back to the previous slide, which says start manually. This is exactly the things that you can learn and find out before scaling up. When you do a manual job and try to collect data in a manual way, you just doubt everything, do it manually, invest a few hours, even try to do things that looks like a bot to see what happens. then you can, we're not talking about scraping thousands of different websites. Usually you need a data set from this website and another data set from that website. Invest this manual work in identifying also all of these warning indicators, like not seeing an ad when you expect to see an ad, and add it to your data collection operation, and also connect the metric that should jump to this data point, so you'll be able to understand what's going on. So this is just one other trick. We have many. Now, I'm sure that you all know this, that machine learning and artificial intelligence systems and data scientists, science as a general thing, all of these things are as good as the data that they are trained according to. So the clean and the accurate data is really the key. And I hope this was clear, and I'll be happy to answer any other question that you have. Just really keep in mind, just like you're buying a home, it won't be a stable home if the concrete manufacturer did a crappy job. So make sure that you are able to collect the data right and to get the right data. Otherwise, it will affect the whole process. You can connect me after this webinar. Also, feel free to ask me anything about the business side, about the technology side. Really feel free. I'm enjoying these things. And if anyone has a question right now, I'll be happy to answer.